So today we're going to be talking about the SelMask tool in Nomad Sculpt, which is for making a mask out of a selection. On this left side here, you'll see a couple of options, but I usually use Lasso, Line, and Rectangle, so those are going to be the only three that I talk about today. Starting off in a new project, you'll have the almost 100k vertice quad sphere, but we're actually going to start with a new quad sphere with significantly less vertices. So we'll just hide that first one, and we're left with the 6000 vertice sphere. So the Lasso tool lets you draw in a freeform way on the surface of the object. So we'll start trying to draw these little swirls, and you'll see that it drew them, but the edges themselves look a little jagged. This happens because of the small number of vertices here. Zooming in, you can see all of the tiny little squares, and with any selection, it's going to follow those squares. So the more squares we have, the easier it is to have a smoother line. So if we clear this mask and go back to the original quad sphere, we can hide this one and show the other, and then we try to do the same. You'll see the boundaries of that shape are a lot smoother. Not perfectly smooth, but still. To get it a little smoother, I would usually go down to voxel and change the resolution to somewhere between 300 and 400 and remesh. And after that, you'll see that it jumped from 98 to 656k vertices. So now, if we try to make that same shape again, we'll see that it's smoother than the second one and significantly smoother than our first attempt. So one thing you might also come across if your hands are shaky like mine is it's kind of hard to get a perfect curve here. So to get a smoother line, you can come up to this paintbrush icon in the top right over here, and we can use stroke smoothing, increase it to 15, and if we were to try again, we can see the line is a lot smoother. There's still a little deformity in him. So the other option we have is the lazy rope stabilizer. Usually I use both. If we increase that and then try again, we'll see that it brings this little rope here. Now we have smoother curves here. But I did let go a bit too soon, so now we can see that there's this empty space up here that we might also want to include in our mask. Fortunately, both mask tools allow for additive selections. So for this next selection, if we were to take it and wrap it around, and try to close this gap here, now it looks a bit more normal. So from here, we can either extract or move pieces around, where if we were to extract, the extracted piece sits on top of the original object, and you can also play with the thickness over here if you want it to be super thin layer versus a really thick layer. So we'll make it a little thicker. Then you can also play with the smoothness. I'll just keep the default of 10, and we can extract. So now we have a cute layer. We can clear the original mask, if you saw that kind of thin line there. And now we have two separate objects, ignoring that first one. So the same way I was able to add to the original mask, I can also subtract from it using the unmask over on this left side here. So if I were to then use the line tool, I can change the snap here, which just dictates how many degrees I'm incrementing as I rotate. So right now it's set to 90, and when I let it go, the side that is shaded is the one that's actually going to impact the current mask. As you can see, once I've let go, it has taken off the top half of the mask that we already created. And then we can use rectangle to put it back. So like I mentioned before, one of the options you have is to now move around the unmasked area. So the part that has this darker shaded area will not move as I move this other section here. So you can stretch it down, resize, and then when you clear the mask, you can just smooth over any issues. And now you have a little Higglytown hero. You can also just resize. I guess you can get like a little mushroom shape. If I change my mind, I can also invert the mask so that the section that's moved is different than the one that we initially applied the mask to. And now we can move this top section instead. Another option is blurring the lines. You can do this if you want a more subtle transition. Sometimes people will use that for like sculpting clothing or other garments that require folds. Another element of this is symmetry. So here we have the local or world symmetry. For us, it'll be identical since our sphere is in the exact center or origin of the workspace. So this would be if you maybe want to do something like eyes. So if we go back to our lasso tool and turn on symmetry again, we can create a little eye shape. And from there, we can invert and use the gizmo tool to move those inward. Now you'll notice that our eyes actually extended to the back. If we only want it to apply to the front, we would actually just use the front-facing vertex only selection. So that can be found within this menu or this little bar up here. So if we undo and toggle front vertex, then when we try to make that shape again, we should see that it did not touch the back. Now, again, inverting that, turning on the gizmo tool, and moving the eyes in. I know sometimes people also just shrink them. Now, if we turn off the mask, we can see that there is a very clear shape inside that can now be smoothed. Again, with symmetry on. And now we've created eye sockets. Let's say you already committed to the shape and you really like the way that you drew the eyes originally. Let's go back to SelMask, turn off that front facing vertex, just to demonstrate again what that might look like. So we have another set of eyes that have made it to the back. What you can do is again leverage the unmask. Any of the three selection tools that we've used so far would also work, but turning it on its side here lets us have a clear separation between the front and the back, where we can now unmask using this rectangle tool, and now we see only the front selection remains.